Hello and welcome to another episode of Annie Casts. I'm Annie, aka Android. This game was submitted by Ioku to dotacasters.com. It's a really great site, I just joined up with it, and I'm really excited to see what work I can get from it. This is actually the first game I'm casting off of that website, and I'm really excited to see what I can do with it. Alright, some interesting picks coming out from the Dire. It looks like they're going to be a very pick-off-oriented lineup with a Pudge hook into a Marana arrow and maybe Gyrocopter call down if he does get Ags. It's going to be very, very aggressive and hopefully very early game oriented to get the Dire the lead early on. And on the Radiant side, it looks like it might be going more teamfight oriented with both an Enigma and a Tidehunter. That's a lot of AoE damage if we're talking about Black Hole and Ravage all at once. So starting off on the Radiant side, we do have Dos Lagos on the Ember Spirit, Superset on the Tidehunter, Allison Bree on the Enigma, Quantum Necrosis Bruiser Brigade on the Morphling, and the Spirit of Whitney Houston on the Silencer. Up top on the Dire team, we do have Mad for Life on the Gyrocopter, Ioku on the Marana, Tamajin on the Pudge, She on the Witch Doctor, and finally Red Cloud on the Queen of Pain. And it looks like predictions on both sides of being in the bag are coming out, so both teams are pretty confident. It looks like we are going to get a very competitive matchup here. And looks like some early rune contest. Enigma's going to be going, looks like he's going to be trying to either block the camp or grab the rune. He's going to be going to the rune spot. Up top it is going to be Tidehunter. Cool Tidehunter set. I like his little club with an octopus on it. Going to be scouting this out. But Gyrocopter and looks like a Marana are going to be scouting that out and maybe not letting Tidehunter have it so easily. Are Tidehunter and Witch Doctor going to run into each other? Not quite this time, but he is pinged out by the Dire team. Gyrocopter and Marana both give him a little shout. Looks like Marana is in a position to set up an arrow if she so chooses, as Tidehunter is sitting pretty steadily on top of the rune. And it looks like on the backside, Gyrocopter's coming in. He can do some early damage. Arrow is on the mark. Really good shot from Marana. Looks like Gyrocopter is going to be casting his little arrows, and it looks like Pudge will finish him off and get the first blood. So Tamajin gets first blood by drawing blood on Superset, and that's going to be a really nice advantage for the Dire team. Give Pudge that much more experience and gold to go buy himself some really nice items and be ahead in terms of mid lane. Down bottom, we are going to see a support Silencer, I believe, as he does have 2 Clarities and some Tangos, so not a whole lot of stats there, but definitely some regen, so he wants to be sustainable. We are going to be seeing an off-lane Queen of Pain for the Dire team, which is a little bit unorthodox, as she usually does take a lot of room to farm in terms of having a safe lane with support by her side. Marana's going to be right there setting up some arrows for her, but I don't know if she'll be able to get the farm she needs, as Silencer's going to do a pretty decent job zoning her out early game. Another amazing arrow by Ioku onto the Spirit of Whitney Houston. It looks like Queen of Pain's going to be trying to initiate on this. Is there going to be enough damage? It looks like Ember Spirit is going to be denying his friend, the Spirit of Whitney Houston. So really good deny. Does deny the Dire team a little bit of experience that would have been valuable, but I mean, the Silencer still does get dead, which isn't ideal for the Radiant team. Up top, Gyrocopter is pretty easily farming this up. He has 3 last hits now, just levels up to level 2, and he looks like he's going to have a pretty easy time, as Tidehunter won't be able to do a lot in the way of, getting in his face and forcing him back. Witch Doctor's doing a very good job zoning him out. This guy's seemingly fearless against the Tidehunter that could, in all probability, kill him. Down middle, Pudge with his great start. Does not have a completed bottle, so really, really useful for him. Great timing on that, as well as Gauntlets of Strength, so that guy's pretty farmed up as you can get at, 1.5 minutes in the game. Quantum Necrosis is going to be trying to trade some last hits and a little bit of harass, but it looks like Pudge will be forcing him back for the time being. This trial lane is going pretty well, but experience is going to be a bit lacking as they are trying to split it 3 ways. Silencer's still sitting at level 1 for now. He's been mostly in this side area. Marana going to be waiting for this next arrow, and she's going to be grabbing an invisibility rune and actually just guarding it. Nope, she will go ahead and grab it and maybe set up a really nice arrow off of that. The 2 arrows I've seen from her so far have been absolutely on the mark and really set up for some nice kills. Up top, 2 Dire heroes are waiting to get very, very aggressive on this Tidehunter that TP's in, and it looks like she and Mad for Life are going to be trying to set something up on this, or are they just going to walk around and get out of here? It looks like that might be the better option, as they both are very squishy at this point in the game. Marana does arrow up the Enigma in the jungle, and Queen of Pain is there to capitalize on that. Dagger comes out from her, and he's just going to stand and take his fate. He does end up committing suicide, so, I mean, bottom lane, the suicides are coming out, but the heroes are still dying, and Marana picks up some farm on the back of that as she is last worded up. Ember Spirit now does have a little bit of free room to push, as the Queen of Pain is now preoccupied. So Ember Spirit is getting himself some nice last hits, sitting at 14 and 4. In terms of last hits, he is at the top of the chart, with Pudge following up on the Dire team. He has a bounty rune in his bottle, ready to cash that in whenever he's ready for more regeneration. Does hook a creep, a little bit unfortunate, but he has plenty of room to regen that up and get back the mana that he just lost from that hook. Up top, Witch Doctor's still playing very aggressively and doing a great job keeping this Tidehunter back. Poor guy only has 4 last hits to his name, and he's only at level 3, so he's been sitting out of experience range for a good portion of this laning phase. Pudge going in for another hook does miss Morphling. He morphs Strength for a brief amount and then bottles up to gain back the mana that he just lost from that. Down bottom, Ember Spirit, a bit of an abnormal build, not picking up any points in his Flame Guard, which I've seen be really, really successful at the beginning of the game. An amazing third arrow from Ioku. Great job, and they are going to easily... Oh my god, these denies are crazy, man. The Radiant team just don't want to let the Dire get any more kills. I mean, 5 deaths on the side of the Radiant, but, I mean, in the bot lane, all 3 of them have been denies. Ioku does leap up, getting vision for herself, but also kind of stuck. She's going to wait until leap is off cooldown for that. Pudge is going to easily be grabbing this bounty rune up top, as Morphling doesn't even leave lane and try to go ahead and get that. She's going to be picking himself up some boots of speed, so that'll help him out a lot with his zoning. He's going to be walking in and out in front of that Tidehunter, and Tidehunter, this poor guy, he has no boots. He's got nothing. Silencer does end up getting a kill on the Queen of Pain down bottom. I did miss that one, but that's going to be a very much needed kill for the Radiant team. Ioku's sitting about half health, a little lower than they'd like to be, probably ideally, but still able to stay in lane and keep these creeps off of the tower. Pudge may be looking for a hook on this Morphling, but Quantum Necrosis is doing a pretty good job staying behind the creep wave and not allowing for that. A little bit of Rot Harass coming in, channels the ultimate, is going to be dismembering him a little bit, but an easy waveform away and should be okay. Although Pudge is really low now, is his life in danger? Enigma's going to be going in and maledicts him up, but it looks like he will be a-okay. Pudge able to bottle himself up, take a tango for the road, and will he be returning it to lane or will he go home? Either one is a viable option. He is a little bit low if he wanted to hook the Morphling, but I think he could stay. He does end up grabbing the rest of his urn and is going to be flying that out to himself shortly, most likely. Down bottom, Gyrocopter zoning out this Tidehunter as best as he can, trading a couple last hits. He's doing pretty well in terms of farm. He does now have completed phase boots as well as a Basilius. Down bottom, Queen of Pain is going to be leaping away, just trying to keep herself safe from any more damage. She wants to play it safe, as that Silencer did get a kill on her earlier, and make sure she's not going to throw away any early experience that the Dire team has. In terms of XP, it is a little bit wobbly at this point. The Dire were in the lead at first, but now the Radiant actually coming back, as they do get a little bit more farm on themselves.
Invisibility.
Up top, Bounty Rune is going to be going to the Pudge, as he is able to bottle that up for himself. So Pudge has been doing a great job controlling these runes. I'm not sure Morphling's even gotten one so far. Pudge is definitely roaming, doing the things he needs to do. And it looks like Mirana is setting up for an invisible kill on Alison Brie, and I have no doubts that this Enigma is feeling very, very safe. Pudge able to set up a hook when he needs to, but I'm not sure if he's even going to go for that. Mirana's still invisible. Hook is on the mark, and Mirana Arrow will be following up and secure the kill for the Pudge. So Temajin is getting another kill to his name. Really, really well done. 2-0 at this point in the game, and at 7 minutes in, that's just really incredible. Pudge is going to get really, really big if he continues to do that later on in the game. Ioku trading some hits with the Spirit of Whitney Houston, but it looks like there's going to be no real follow-up, as an arrow wouldn't really have any backup and would just be, most likely, a poor use of mana. Although if Queen of Pain decides to jump in on this, that could be a potential kill. It looks like Alison Brie is going to be going in on Ioku if they do run into each other. Some last hits traded, but not a whole lot. Sleight of Fist coming out for the Ember Spirit, but mostly just putting on some harass. Nothing really aggressive coming out of that. Up top, Mad for Life is going to be just working on his farm right now. Almost 700 gold in the bank after he finishes off the siege creep. That'll help him out a lot, just getting his first big item. I'm not quite sure what he's going to be going. He has a lot of options here in terms of how he wants to play the game. I would definitely suggest an Ags in order to have that global counter to Tide Ravage and Black Hole if he needs it. Queen of Pain having a little bit of difficulty farming. She is only at 9 last hits, which I would expect a lot more from her, as she has had really, really heavy harass and has gotten a couple near kills. Spirit of Whitney Houston taking another arrow right to the face. Queen of Pain might be able to capitalize on that, and Ioku will end up getting the kill for that one, which will help her out a lot. She does have a bottle in the bank, as well as some sentry wards, which are definitely needed. Up top, I just caught the very tail end of that gyrocopter chasing Tidehunter all the way into the trees right under his tower, and Mad for Life will end up victorious in that combat, so another big kill for the Dire team. They're able to force the Tide offlaner back to the base and have to walk all the way back. So it looks like they might be getting a tower off of this. And yes, tower will be going down. Pudge is on a killing spree now as he finishes off Morphling once again. So this guy is 3-0. Really, really good start for Temajin. He's able to bottle himself up near full health again. And is he going to be going for another really cheeky hook onto the Spirit of Whitney Houston? And it looks like he's going to be setting himself up in the trees and see if he can get anything out of that. Marana Illusions farming this camp will get Marana a little bit more farm than she needs, or than she has had otherwise. And she is going to be waiting in this little patch of trees as well. I don't think the Radiant have any vision of this. There is a Dire Observer ward in lane, so really good vision by the Dire. They're able to push off really aggressively at first. Queen of Pain still having a really, really poor game with only tier 1 boots and a null tally to speak of, and not even 800 golds to her name. So she's obviously had a little difficulty this game getting the farm she needs, but she's helped out in a lot of the big heroes that have gone down, which will definitely help her out experience-wise. And it looks like a lot of the Dire heroes are rotating in to this poor, poor Ember Spirit. I don't know how he's going to get out of this one. He has no real escape mechanism. He is going to fire Remnant out. Pudge going in for a hook. It is going to be off the mark as he is stuck in these backlanded trees. He's going to TP back home, and he should be okay, but Dire now have a 4-man rotation down bottom, and they should have no trouble taking this tower if that's what they're looking to do. Radiant do counter that by having 3-men mid, and they are going to be cleaning up this creep wave, but they don't really have much to push with. They're just going to be kind of standing here, waiting to see who rotates in. Looks like Ioku is maybe trying to set up a really, really nice arrow, but will think better of it and kind of rotate to a better location to set up that arrow. Up top, Radiant creeps are doing a bit of work. Gyrocopter's TPing in on the side of the Dire, just looking to get some farm. Not going to be able to push out the lane too dramatically. In the jungle, Witch Doctor's doing what he can to stack this. That looks like a 4-stack, so that's going to be a really nice chunk of change for Gyrocopter if he decides to go down and grab that up for himself. And it looks like Morphling is pinging this area of trees over here. They think maybe the Pudge could be located there. They really don't have any vision on the map. I'm not sure if that's a communication error or they're just trying to budget their money and don't want support spending money on wards or this early on in the game, but I feel like they could definitely use the vision, especially when there's a Pudge and a Marana roaming about and getting kills left and right. In terms of XP, it is now almost back to 0. The Dire are still in favor by about 400, which at 10 minutes really isn't substantial at all. The Radiant are definitely not out of this, even though the score is 1-9. The early denies in the bot lane were really, really impressive. Is Witch Doctor going for another stack on this camp? That's incredible. Give this guy a medal, and it looks like it will not stack, unfortunately. And Gyrocopter's going to be cleaning that up with his call down, which will help him out a lot in terms of farm. He does have a completed Helm of the Dominator, which is pretty good timing for him. He has had unlimited free farm, already sitting at 66 last hits. So really good for him, and I don't know if the Radiant want to let him have that free farm, because he's going to get pretty massive if he's allowed to get the items that he needs. Down mid, Morphling is just kind of sitting up. It looks like he's going treads, as he does have a belt of strength as well as boots in his inventory, which will help him out a lot with whatever stat he chooses to accelerate. Queen of Pain still really, really poor. That poor little lady only having 16 last hits to her name at 11 minutes in when she was offered free farm bottom lane. And it looks like Pudge is going to be trying to go in on this Ember, but might end up paying with his life. He's going to be trying to hook in, and will get the silencer before he goes down, and will end up getting the suicide due to the rot damage. Ioku is maledicted up, going to be taking some last hits, and will leap down to the river. Really well played, and Fire Remnant's going to come up, but Queen of Pain might turn this around onto the Ember Spirit, and it looks like Witch Doctor ult by She in the background is going to be doing a lot of damage. Does end up getting the Ember Spirit down, and it takes Allison Brie very, very low. Are they going to be able to get this Enigma down? Queen of Pain will cast one final Scream of Pain and will take him down. Morphling grabbed an Invis rune in the bottle, so that'll be really useful if she's looking to roam about at any point in the later game. Gyrocopter just kind of getting his farm up, 1200 gold in the bank, so able to start thinking about another big item, perhaps an Aghanims, perhaps, gosh, I really don't know what else you'd buy on Gyrocopter if you're looking to do that global strat, as the Dire team is really, really roam dependent. Marana and Pudge have been doing a great job at getting where they need to on the map to pick off those Radiant heroes that are just slightly out of position or feeling a little too safe. Silencer does have 2 sets of wards, and Mirana Arrow is going to be off the mark, but really, really good try from Ioku. She is going to be cursed up and trying to do some last hits, and looks like Cask will come, as well as the Maledict from the Witch Doctor, and some arrows are going to be coming out. Enigma trying to get the kill, but it looks like Witch Doctor Maledict will be enough to get down the Spirit of Whitney Houston. Pudge trying to go in, see if there's anything on the rune spot that's going to be spawning anytime soon, but they still got 45 seconds to go. Smoke is going to be coming out from the Witch Doctor, I believe, as they are going to be rotating down bottom. Ember Spirit is scared. That poor guy, he has rushed Boots of Travel, which, well, that's just a build I haven't seen before. I can't call whether it's good or bad, but I'd say there's certainly more stats-oriented items that might be helping him out, especially with his farm early game. Enigma feeling safe pulling this jungle camp once again, but maybe he shouldn't be, as there are a Witch Doctor and a Pudge ready to make those hooks. And it looks like maybe a hook from the Pudge will be coming out, and will be slightly off the mark, but Witch Doctor does pop his ult and will end up getting another kill onto the Pudge. So that guy is sitting really, really happy with already 5 flesh heaps to his name. He does have a completed 4 staff. He's able to get anywhere he wants on the map at this point, and his support's been doing a great job roaming around with him, ensuring he gets those kills, whether it's a Witch Doctor popping ult or a Mirana popping arrow. So Radiant team, it just seems like they're not playing as cohesively. They're trying to farm up all their heroes, but they have a really teamfight-oriented lineup, and it seems like their people aren't building teamfight-oriented items, with the Ember immediately rushing Boots of Travel. So it seems like if he wants to be one of those Ember Spirits that just kind of runs away... Oh, is this arrow going to be legendary? No, it will be just shy of hitting that Ember Spirit out of his Fire Remnant. That would have been Arrow of the Century right now. Looks like Enigma is coming in just to let him know where he is. Pudge is going to get Moonlight Shadowed up. They do have a Sentry Ward, though. Black Hole being popped for this Pudge. Are they going to be able to do enough damage in time? It looks like Ember Spirit will do just enough damage to get him down, but again, Black Hole's down, and Pudge is coming back in only about 40 seconds. Dire are going to try to take this tier 1 tower in mid, and Gyrocopter will end up getting the last hit for that. So he now has 2,700 gold to his name, able to definitely pick up that first item piece if he'd like. Tidehunter does have Ravage at level 1, and he's able to cast it in this next big engage, but Black Hole is down, so there's not going to be a whole lot of follow-up if they do catch out a bunch of Dire heroes. Queen of Pain is struggling to get away. She does blink, and will make it safely to the tier 2 tower. Mirana looks like she might be trying to set up an arrow, but the Radiant team are wiggling around a little bit too much to assure her a safe path. And it looks like 3 Dire heroes are going to be clumping up, trying to make something out of this engage. They don't want to let this tower go down without a fight. Really great arrow onto the Tidehunter, but they do need to watch the Ravage when he gets unstunned. Looks like another Witch Doctor ult will be going out. Ravage comes out, Scream of Pain from the Queen of Pain, and it looks like Silencer will be going down to the Mirana right click, and call down from the Gyrocopter, really, really well placed, as they are able to get this Tidehunter within a couple shots of dead, and they will end up bringing him down. Silencer trying to TP out on the back lines will make it, and it looks like Ember Spirit just going to be TPing home in the safety of the jungle. Are they going to be able to interrupt it? They will not. Witch Doctor picking up an Ogre Club initially, so it could be a BKB, but I'd say most likely an Aghanims, as he has been relying on that Death Ward for a lot of really, really good, reliable damage. Mid, it looks like Pudge might be trying to initiate on the Morphling, as he is pushing up pretty far into the river, and again, no vision on the side of the Radiant, as they do only have 1 Sentry Ward really well placed, as the Pudge was invisible from Moonlight Shadow. Hook off the mark, but Pudge is still going to be able to cast ult. Morphling is morphing strength for all she's worth, and it looks like she will bring in the Enigma back up. Arrow is off the mark from the Mirana, but very well tried. And it looks like Ioku is pretty low health, but does have a Sentry Ward in the inventory if they want to approach and place that. Down bottom, Queen of Pain denies this tower, which I think is a pretty smart play, as it was sitting at the health where next time the Radiant wanted to push and the Dire couldn't rotate quite in time, they would just get it down easily, so why not be preemptive about it and take it down? Pudge having 1,000 gold in the bank, able to think about his first big item, as I don't really consider 4 staff that much of a huge item on Pudge. He does have Tranquil Boots, which is going to keep him sustainable in lane, as he's able to, he doesn't have to go back to base as much. His health is just going to regen very naturally, even without a heart, which might come later in the game. Really great stacking by the Gyrocopter with this cute little centaur, so that's going to help him out a lot if he wants to call down later on. Witch Doctor is picking up a Smoke of Deceit, so looking for maybe another really, really nice rotation. Pudge is going to be ulting in on this poor Tidehunter. This guy has just had such a difficult game. He's sitting on practically starting items at this point, but it is almost 20 minutes in. He's just been having a really tough time as the Dire have been so clean with their rotations. In terms of XP, it is going to be almost 5,000 gold, 5,000 XP in favor of the Dire, so they're definitely controlling this, getting the levels they need to, putting in the rotations they need to. Pudge grabbing a double damage rune, that's going to help him out a lot in this next fight. He's going to just do a lot more right click and make it a lot scarier for the Radiant team to want to roam in anywhere near unsafe territory. In terms of golds, about 7,500 golds in favor of the Dire, which just means they have that many more items that they need to be building up really aggressively. The smoke is going to be used to go into the Roche pit, and looks like the Radiant have no idea. Ember just farming up, picking up a Void Stone, so just once again a really confusing build from this Ember. He's not going a strength item first, which I think he needs. He doesn't necessarily need that Battle Fury, but I mean, why not something that just does damage and helps him out with his attack? Looks like these two Observer wards are going to be all over themselves. Ember is going to be Boots of Traveling back to base, which, again, I'm just really confused about the Boots of Travel as the first item. Brown boots are fine, but why wouldn't you use that 2,000 gold to get some stats on yourself early on? It looks like Pudge is going to be ulting in on this Roshan, make sure he's held in place. And yeah, Queen of Pain definitely going Ags, as she does have 3 components of it. She's pretty close, only about 400 gold away from a completed Aghanim Scepter, and that's going to make that initial Sonic Wave really, really painful. Ember Spirit is coming in. He is going to be taking a lot of damage from the Gyrocopter and will get blown up. Queen of Pain will make it out with her life. She does get very, very low, and Roche will end up going down to the Dire, so once again, big advantage for that team. Gyrocopter grabbing Aegis, and is probably going to take this big chunky stack of Ancients right there. Really good for him. He's going to get a lot of farm off of that, and really good supporting from Shi as he's healing him up and making sure he's doing his part but not taking any last hits. Finally, some Radiant Vision. Mirana trying to set up maybe an arrow on the Morphling, or maybe just keeping tabs on them. Arrow is going to come out and will be off the mark, but will hit a creep, so, you know, that counts. Pudge is going to be trying to hook in on the Enigma. Will get him. He's double damaged up. That is one scary little Pudge to walk into. Negative Urn being cast on the Enigma, but he's able to get away by casting Maledict onto the Pudge, and he's going to be hovering under tower and doing just fine. And nope, I take back my statement as Pudge is able to cast a really clutch hook and make sure that Enigma is not feeling safe at all. I think he was actually going to intercept the TP of the Ember Spirit, but did end up catching the Enigma, who was sitting around instead. So, you know what? Another kill in his pocket. He's doing great. 7 flesh heaps. And he's not really feeling scared of anything. Pudge is going to be trying to go in for a kill on the Ember Spirit, but the Ember Spirit will get the better of him. Will he be going down to the negative Urn charge, though? That's the question. And you know, he will have enough HP to survive. Mirana's arrow coming out on an Ember Spirit illusion. She is pinged out by Enigma, I believe. Mirana having a mango in her inventory, which I must confess is my favorite item of this new patch. I want a mango on every hero all the time. Mangoes win games. Silencer is going to pop down a sentry and just deward near the runes, which is going to be really helpful for his team. That extra vision, making sure to deny the vision to the Radiant as well. Silencer is going to be picking up a buckler, so definitely going Mechanism, as he already does have a Ring of Regen in his pocket. Another Sentry Ward being popped down for the Radiant team. Silencer going to be casting a curse onto Witch Doctor, but he should get away just fine. Does have his heal up, and he's doing A-okay. Down bottom is Ember Spirit going to be trying to be really aggressive on this Gyrocopter. Looks like he's just going to try to go in for farm. Gyrocopter casting a homing missile onto the Ember Spirit, just trying to harass him and force him back a little bit. He's going to Sleight of Fist out of the impact, which is going to be really smart for him. He doesn't have to get stunned up or take the damage. Enigma does already have a completed mech, so I'm not sure if the Silencer's going another mech or what's going on. Moonlight Shadow coming out, and it looks like Silencer's going to be caught out by the Pudge, but really great Ravage, and it does catch out a couple people. Witch Doctor is getting taken down, and it looks like a black hole is coming out by the Enigma. It is going to end up bringing down the Ember Spirit, as the black hole is not quite successful in fending off all of the Dire heroes. The one Witch Doctor that was the casualty in that fight does confess it's a trap, and I mean it was. Enigma pulled out a really great black hole, but wasn't really able to get a whole lot out of it. I was expecting a couple more heroes to go down, and I mean 2 for 1 is definitely a worthwhile trade when you're getting down a Tidehunter and an Enigma, as well as popping both of their ultimates. So they're pretty much useless for the next minute and a half in this game. Queen of Pain, is she trying to initiate onto this Morphling? And it looks like she will be. She does have her ult up if she needs it, and she will be using it, but a beautiful waveform taking the Morphling out of that. And Queen of Pain is now silenced up and running for her life. And it looks like Pudge is going to be able to hook the Spirit of Whitney Houston down. So really, really great hooks from that little guy so far. 10 flesh heaps and only 22 minutes in the game. If Pudge continues on this road, he's going to be absolutely unkillable in a couple of minutes. Up top, Morphling Illusions are just going to be pushing out the lane, and it looks like Dire might want to rotate someone in before their tower takes some damage. And it looks like Pudge is coming up, probably just going to rot himself and the lane. He's getting pretty tanky. He is going to be going Aghanim's, I believe, as he starts out with a point booster, which is a very smart play, because he's been doing a great job of getting those hooks and dismembers when he needs to. Down middle, there is going to be some pressure onto the tier 2. Morphling casting a replicate of this Enigma, maybe trying to fool someone, but I'm not quite sure. And Witch Doctor's going to pop a cask. Is going to be hurting the Gyro. Gyro's going to be popping a BKB and using a call down. He's going to pop his flat cannon and gets the Enigma down in the end, but he might end up paying with his life. He's getting very, very low, taking a lot of damage, and he will get killed. He does have an Aegis, so he will end up going back. Queen of Pain kind of using a zoning Sonic Wave for that. I'm not quite sure the ult was necessary, but she will end up driving everyone back and does end up getting a kill on the Silencer. That poor Silencer's been having such a tough game. He definitely is going for Mechanism. I'm not sure about that communication, because Enigma does already have one and has had one for a little bit. That poor guy only has 4 last hits, so he's definitely starving for money. In terms of XP, it's now heavily in the Dire's favor at 14,000 advantage for them. Definitely something that you need to watch out for. You let that Gyrocopter farm top, you let that Queen of Pain have all the room she needs. She didn't quite capitalize on all the money she could have gotten, but she was able to get the experience she needs. In terms of gold, it's going to be a over 15,000 gold lead for the Dire team, and the score is 5-25, so Dire are kind of running away with this game. I think the only way for the Radiant team to really get back in is to have a convincing team fight with a Ravage into a black hole, and Morphling needs to dish out the damage on the backside. There is a smoke coming out for the Radiant team. I'm not sure where they're trying to go with this. They don't have a lot of vision of where the Dire team is. There is a ward popped onto the high ground there, and they don't find them. So it looks like they might have just popped the smoke to go ward, as they do now rotate in onto the Pudge. Pudge is silenced up. He's not having a great time. Enigma putting down his little purple circle, and Tidehunter is going to be getting the last hit onto that. So Tidehunter gets some much-needed golds for that killed. And it looks like finally Ember Spirit is going to be building a Battle Fury, as he does have his Perseverance. I think that'll help him out a lot with farming, but I just don't know if it's quick enough to get him back in this game. He missed out on a lot of early damage he could have been dealing. Arrow is going to be cast by the Mirana, and it will be slightly off the mark, as Ember is able to wiggle right around it. Sleight of Fist coming out, doing a lot of damage to Ioku, as, man, that Mirana is pretty squishy at this point, having under 1,000 HP. She does still have her Mango in the inventory, and a completed Diffusal Blade, which is going to be really, really helpful when she's trying to go up against these mana-dependent heroes like Enigma and Silencer. She also has an invisibility rune in her bottle, which she's been doing such an amazing job of roaming, so I can't wait until she uses that and sets up a really, really clutch arrow, which we might get to see right now, as it is going to be going near the Morphling, but not quite the range to reach it. Morphling's going to grab a regen rune, so that's going to help him out a lot. Gyro is sitting pretty low. He did get harassed by the Enigma and the Ember Spirit. Tier 2 mid is denied by the Queen of Pain. Sorry, Tier 1 on the Dire side is denied by the Queen of Pain. And she does now have a completed Aghanim Scepter, as well as an extra Staff of Wizardry. So is she building Yules? I'm not sure, but that Aghanim's is going to help her out a lot with that Sonic Wave. Now dealing almost, well, once it levels up a little bit, 490 damage in 3 more levels on her, which is going to be really, really detrimental to the Radiant team, as they don't have a lot of tanks. Tidehunter and Morphling are their best shot at this point. Smoke is cast from the Dire, as they're going to walk down mid. I'm not sure what they're trying to get out of this. Maybe just set up some locations for a nice Pudge hideout. And it looks like the Radiant are going to be popping Queen of Pain's smoke sometime soon. No, it looks like Ember Spirit won't be quite far enough up to do that. And Mirana has actually cast an arrow, and looks like Silencer is going to be popping the smoke, revealing that he is definitely not alone in this jungle. Call down coming out. Pudge hooks off the mark. Moonlight Shadow coming out for the Mirana, as they might want to make this a clean exit, as the engage didn't go quite the way they promised. Queen of Pain's shout is going to be going on to this Morphling, who's morphing strength as much as they can. There's so much strength coming out from this guy. Can they finish him off? I don't know, and it looks like Ember Spirit is going to be counter-initiating and will end up taking down the Queen of Pain. Morphling is going to be living. That strength morph absolutely saved his life. Although the Dire are going to get a clean retreat on this and possibly end up taking a Roshan, as it is scouted out by She, who checks the pit. I'm just really impressed at Quantum Necrosis' ability to channel strength in that ability, and definitely saves himself. Queen of Pain was hitting for all she was worth, solo screams onto Quantum Necrosis, but he's able to live just by that amazing strength morph that as it is max level. Quantum Necrosis bottle sips himself up and then grabs an invisibility rune, which is going to help him if he decides to roam somewhere where he shouldn't, which might end up happening right now, as Ioku is sitting alone in the top lane with no real way to get out. Shotgun is coming out. I didn't even see the Ethereal Blade in the inventory, but Mirana looks like she will be just fine, calling out a WTF in the alt chat. And it looks like they will run back into each other. Morphling is invisible, pinged out, but that invisibility rune coming in helpful, as looks like Morphling might just try to slither away. Down middle there is going to be an initiation, and it looks like Pudge will end up losing his life. Ember Spirit getting the last kill on that with a Sleight of Fist, so now this guy's doing what he needs to do to be really aggressive in this game and do a lot of damage. That Flame Guard is doing a lot of work, melting people down. Ravage does end up catching down a couple. Mirana will go down as well as the Queen of Pain. Ember Spirit picking himself up, a triple kill on the back of that fight. So Radiant are very much still in this game. I definitely questioned Ember Spirit's build early on, but it's paying off for him now. In terms of gold, there's a little bit of a dip. It's still over, I'd say, 1,300 in favor of the Dire, so they do have those bigger items that they need. But in terms of experience, it's only about, well, now going to be less than 10,000 after the next tick of that graph in favor of the Radiant, the Dire. So Radiant do still have a chance to come back. It's by no means a runaway, but they definitely have to play cleanly and keep getting pickoffs in the big heroes like the Pudge and the Queen of Pain. Guardian Greaves now on the Enigma, so that's most likely why he built a double mech. A Silencer does not have a completed mech yet. He needs to fly that recipe out to himself. Tier 2 top will be going down for the Radiant, so they're pretty happy about that. Going to get themselves a little bit more gold in the bank. And Ember Spirit's going to get more free farm. He does pick himself up his first Battle Fury. I'm not sure if he's planning on getting another one, but we'll see what he builds next. He does still have 1,200 gold on top of his buyback in his inventory if he needs to use that for his next item. Double damage rune unscouted out by either team, as there's no vision on the top rune slot, but a bounty rune is scouted out by the Dire team on the bottom. Dire are kind of clustering up mid. Looks like they might be fanning out into the jungles to try to figure out where the Radiant team are. Nice word by the Witch Doctor, trying to see if there's any Radiant vision on that hill, but there's no Radiant vision anywhere. Gyrocopter does pick himself up a Monkey King bar. I don't know if he was going for evasion resistance or what, but he is just now going to do a lot of damage, as he does have also a Black King bar. So both of the King bars are in his inventory right now. He's able to do a lot of damage and be immune to magic, which is going to definitely help him out when the next fight breaks out, especially with all the damage that Tidehunter can put out, as well as Silencer. And it looks like a Roche attempt is going to come out once again by the Dire team, as they did smoke into the pit. Witch Doctor picks himself up a smoke a little earlier. Mirana is going to be scouting out this pit, doing what she can, walking around like a crazy little tiger lady. And it looks like the Radiant team are not going to have this. They're going to scout this out. Dust being popped by the Tidehunter, and he is going to be taking a lot of damage from the Gyrocopter. And it looks like Pudge is coming in, trying to go for a hook, will be just shy of range, but really great scream from the Queen of Pain. Her axe is finished and she's doing damage. She does end up getting down the Tidehunter, but it looks like Ioku's really, really low now. He might need to get back before he gets away. And it looks like Morphling is channeling strength once again. Will take a Maledict right to the face, but will Adaptive Strike Queen of Pain back. Is he going to be able to get away from this? Looks like a stun from the Gyrocopter will be enough to hold him in place so Queen of Pain can get off that one last scream of pain and clean him up. On the backlines, Pudge is going to pick off the Enigma, and that will be an open Roche pit if they decide to go back in on that. But with 3 Radiant heroes dead, they might just try to push down and get high ground. It looks like that's what Witch Doctor's drawing on the map. And he just wants to push and break high ground before it gets too late, before the Ember gets any more farm. They want to push their advantage. In terms of items, Witch Doctor is definitely building up his ags, but he's not really that close. He's been buying a lot of really good warts. Buyback from the Morphling, actually. Morphling does not want to let this high ground go that easily. It looks like the shotgun combo is all ready to go, if that's time. Ravage is up for the Tidehunter, but he will take a homing missile to the face and just kind of zone out the rest of the Radiant heroes as the Dire are able to safely retreat without losing anyone. So, well played by the Dire. That could have easily gone a lot more catastrophic. They are kind of fanning out, not leading the Radiant in any specific direction. In terms of XP, there was a big dip when that little turnaround happened, but it is now back in 10,000 in favor of the Dire team. Up top, we do have a TP scroll flying out to the Witch Doctor. Good on you for always carrying a TP and some wards. What a support. It looks like Mirana's going to hit an arrow onto the Roshan just to stun him up so Gyrocopter can do as much damage as possible. That MKB helping him out, but he still doesn't have a whole lot of HP, only about 1,400. Ember Spirit is coming back into the pit as well as a smoked Tidehunter Ravage coming out. It looks like they will be able to get some of these Dire heroes, and looks like Gyrocopter's going to go down to the Ember Spirit, and that's a free Roche for the Radiant team. Wow, what a great turnaround. It looks like Shout is up for the Queen of Pain. She will do what she can, but not enough to drive anyone out of the pit. Ember Spirit getting an Aegis to his name. He does now have a Daedalus, so he's definitely going to be building that crit. He has a Chrysalis going to be building into a Daedalus, and that'll help him out a lot with his right-click damage. Flame Guard coming up. These creeps hurt him. He does not have a lot of HP, only 1,200 to his name. But, I mean, that Aegis is going to do a lot of work if they decide to do one big cohesive team fight. I think the Radiant are doing what they need to do to stay back in the game. They need to rotate in as a team. Bringing in both the Tidehunter and the Ember Spirit was definitely key to that fight. The Tidehunter had a lot of lockdown with his Ravage and his Gush, and the Ember Spirit was the one doing the damage. They just brought in both of the heroes they needed to take that. If they had come in one by one, I think it would have been a very different fight, and I think the Dire would have had that Aegis in their pockets right now. Pudge is going to be roaming in a little bit far. Are they going to catch out this Morphling? It looks like Morphling will zip back to his Remnant that was sitting near base, so Morphling able to get out just fine in the face of that Pudge Witch Doctor combination. Witch Doctor getting barely closer to his Ags. That poor thing has been buying wards all game left and right and has really no money left for himself. Another smoke coming out for himself. Might be flying that in pretty soon, and I don't know where they can rotate on top of that. They might just be saving it for the next time they need to get somewhere unscouted out, whether that's a pick-off rotation or setting up maybe for the next Roche if they're thinking that far ahead. Ember Spirit now does have the Demon Edge for his Daedalus, so that's going to be coming out pretty soon for him if he's allowed to farm up this lane uncontested. 4 Radiant heroes are mid, scattering out a little bit now, but they might be trying to push high ground. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it. Wow, really long zip from the Ember as he does zip from top lane all the way to his middle lane. Queen of Pain is going to be building up a Yule's for herself and another Sage's Mask, so definitely capitalizing on that huge intelligence gain. Scream of Pain's going to clean up that wave for her nice and easy. She's now getting to the point where she can farm really well. In terms of net worth, Gyrocopter is actually in the lead, having those really big items. It looks like maybe a Scotty's up next as an Ultimate Orb is picked up, but at this point it could be almost anything. He's been doing really well in this game, sitting at 5-1-7, so only 1 death to his name, and he's been putting in a lot of work. All his calldowns have been pretty much on point. Looks like Witch Doctor does smoke himself up. I'm not quite sure what the rotation was, but Radiant team do not scout out anything important. Pudge does not pick himself up a BKB, which is going to help himself a lot with, well, I mean, I'm not sure he needed it. I would have recommended more of an HP-based item, like a heart or yeah, I think a heart would have been a better choice there, but definitely the Black King Bar isn't going to hurt. It never hurts to be magic immune, especially against a Silencer and a Morphling. And it looks like the Radiant are going to be trying to rotate in. Replicate of the Tidehunter is caught. Pudge goes on the wrong one. No, Moonlight Shadow being cast. And it looks like the Dire are going to be offered a free escape here, but Pudge is definitely regretting that. Figures out he got the wrong one. Trying to look for the real Tidehunter, and they will not find him because he is invised up. Nice arrow coming out from the Mirana, but Tornado is a little bit off the mark, as there was a little bit of miscommunication coming out there. Queen of Pain probably zipping him up in the air as Mirana was arrowing, and if they had just talked that out, it could have been a nice clean pickoff, but I mean, there are always communication errors in games, and nothing really big lost on this part of the Dire for that. Sleight of Fist coming out from the Ember Spirit, and a hook coming out from the Pudge. I'm not sure if he meant to grab Gyrocopter back from there, or Gyrocopter got in the way of a hook. Arrow coming out from the Mirana onto the Tidehunter. Really, really long range as she was sitting up on this high ground here. But again, no follow-up from that. Just kind of zoning them out, showing that they're aggressive and willing to fight if the Radiant push too far. Ember Spirit does now have a completed Daedalus, so man, that kid crits for 695 right now, which is not something you want to see if you're a squishy Witch Doctor, or even Gyrocopter's pretty squishy at this point in the game. Mirana's sitting at only about 1200 HP, and she could easily take a Sleight of Fist to the face and just melt right down. Enigma is going to be buying out a smoke on the Radiant side of the map, so definitely a lot of smokes in this game, even for seemingly insignificant rotations. If they're trying to go to Roche, Roche is not up. Ember Spirit still has his Aegis, so I don't think that's what they're doing. They might just be trying to push up and get a little bit of a good rotation off onto the Dire side of the map. And it looks like smoke will be popped by the Witch Doctor. That guy is one dead man. Right click from the Enigma finishing him off, but a Sleight of Fist is doing most of the damage there. Dire are figuring out they're not quite safe. They might not be in as much of a lead as they thought this game. The score is 12 to 28, and they've gotten a lot of good kills and a lot of good pickoffs, but the Radiant team are able to have a really cohesive team fight if they time it right. Really nice arrow from the Mirana onto Alison Brie, and it looks like there's going to be no follow-up, just a little bit of zoning. Queen of Pain does have ult and is going to be coming in on the outskirts of this. Is she going to try to get a 5-man ult? And she will. What an amazing ult, but Guardian Greaves are going to come right back up and heal everyone pretty much to full health. I think Queen of Pain is now scared and running from that. She did all she could in that fight, but it wasn't enough to get anyone low enough to retreat. And Radiant are going to hold and try to take this high ground down. Another great arrow coming out from the Mirana, but it will be off the mark as the Enigma does dodge at the last second. Replicate of the Mirana coming out for the Morphling. I'm not quite sure what that was, but oh well. Call down coming out from the Gyrocopter as it is going to catch out 3 heroes. Really great hook from the Pudge, keeping the Silencer in. Mech coming up for him, but not enough to keep him alive. Ravage coming out from the Tidehunter as Pudge is going to get caught out. It looks like they are putting a lot of damage onto him, but those 12 flesh heaps are doing a lot of damage. Black Hole from the Enigma gets used up by the Queen of Pain. Really great way to cancel that. And Enigma's going to take a lot of damage from that Witch Doctor ult, but will end up going down to the Queen of Pain. And it looks like Sleight of Fist doing what it can, and there are still 4 Dire heroes alive. Morphling is going to be taking a lot of damage from the Pudge. It's going to waveform away, and will live. And it looks like Pudge is going to get himself another kill onto the Ember Spear, but will end up going down himself, most likely. No, it looks like they are going to be turning onto the Tidehunter. Queen of Pain doing what she can to do as much damage to this Tidehunter, and it looks like Mirana will get the last kill with that Star Call. So I'm really surprised that this Pudge didn't go down. They committed so much to him, and the Radiant team aren't able to get any of the really huge pickoffs they need. And it looks like Witch Doctor is kind of pinging back this Mirana saying, you know, go heal. There are still a couple Radiant heroes left in the fight, but Morphling's in no fighting shape and Silencer's at base. So Mirana was safe there, but definitely a good idea to heal up. Really impressed with Dire's performance in that fight. They never kind of backed off and let themselves die. They always kept fighting to see who they could take down with them, and it really paid off for Pudge. He does cast that one last hook before he, really should have died, and he ends up living, so good job on him getting what he needs to get. And in terms of experience, it is going to be back in the Dire's favor, as it was tipping up a little bit towards the Radiant, but I think with that last fight, that sealed the deal. And it looks like Pudge is going to be going in for another kill on the Enigma, and will get it. So 15 flesh heaps in his name. And that's just not something you want to fight against if you're on the Radiant team. Amazing arrow coming in from the Rana will be very slightly off the mark. But if that hit on the Silencer, man, I would have commanded that guy myself. Tidehunter gets a good deny on the tower, and it looks like she will defusal up the Silencer. He will get off a last word on the Pudge, but Pudge should be A-okay. He does have his Rot stuck on, so hopefully no suicides come out of that, but nope, he will get it off just in time and will TP back to base to get his health pool back up. Down middle, Witch Doctor is going to be just cleaning up some lanes, farming up. Does now have a third piece of his Ags, and is only about 60 gold away from having a completed Aghanim Scepter, so that's something he's been waiting for since 15-minute mark, so definitely going to be a good day when he gets that really nice full Death Ward at level 3 with that Aghanim Scepter bouncing around to everyone, completely melting them down. That in combination with the Queen of Pain ulti is going to be detrimental to the Radiant lineup, as they do have a couple squishy people. Ember Spirit, trying to think about his next item. I'm not sure what he's going to go. He does have still a magic stick with 11 charges if he needs to use that in the next fight. I really haven't caught him using that too much, but it is kind of an insignificant item, at 42 minutes in the game. It could be good for, you know, a last second really clutch save, but maybe trading it out for something a little bit more reliable. Looks like Queen of Pain just going to be farming herself up. Is she going to go Scotty? She does now also pick up an ultimate orb. I'd say that's a great item for her in this game, keeping all the Radiant heroes slowed down and adding that much damage to her attack. And it looks like Pudge is going to be trying to initiate on the Ember Spirit, who will leap back almost the whole map length to his tier 3 tower. Everyone's just kind of, you know, resetting and farming up, trying to figure out the best way to initiate and take the next fight. Quantum Necrosis does have that shotgun build in place, but I mean, it's worked out really well for them one time, but then the rest of the times it seems like it's just not quite enough to do the damage that it needs to. In terms of hero level, Pudge is sitting really high at level 22, which, I mean, good for him. He's just been getting levels all over the place. He's started out the game really, really strong with that first blood, and he just hasn't stopped. He's 13 and 5, which, yeah, there's 5 deaths, but that's just a lot of kills. And with six assists, he's had really high kill participation, and he's hit some really, really clutch hooks. Looks like he is just going to hook that creep, making sure he stays in place, and being pretty aggressive. He has 77 gold to go before he's able to fully afford buyback, and I think once he has buyback, the Radiant don't want to be in a position to push up against a Pudge with pretty much 2 lives. Speaking of 2 lives, Roshan is back up and is free, I'd say, for both teams. They both have pretty good coverage of the pit. Queen of Pain getting herself a nice ward up there. Looks like she will blink herself down, but Radiant do lose vision of that pit, and I think Dire's in a better position to go for Roche, but I wouldn't say it's out of the question to have a really nice fight break out there. Looks like the creeps are just going to be pretty neutrally pushing in this top lane, as the Radiant do still have their 2-2 tower, as the Dire do not, but I'd say, again, the Dire are just in a better position to push, as long as they can bait out the Radiant ultimates that they need to get out of the way, such as that Global Silence, that Ravage, that Black Hole. If those are down, there's no reason the Dire can't push to win at this point. They're doing so much damage. Gyrocopter's going to pick himself up a DD rune, and should be starting in on this Roche anytime now, probably waiting for a little bit of support, either from the Queen of Pain or the Mirana, or just all of his team in general, but I don't think he should waste that double damage for much longer. It's ticking down. It's at about almost half, so he should start in as soon as he can, and he will. Up top, 5 Radiant heroes are going to be moving in. Are they going to try to take high ground here? Ember Spirit puts down a Remnant in case things go sour and he needs to get back into the trees. But they can push up pretty aggressively, as they don't know it, but all of the Dire heroes are preoccupied in this Roche pit. Mirana doing what she can, being a helpful little kitty, trying to take as much of the damage as she can. She does have her ults if things go sour in the pit or they need to reinitiate elsewhere. Looks like Queen of Pain is just going to be working on this creep wave. And it looks like Roche will be going down uncontested to the Dire team. I'm wondering who's going to take it. I'm guessing Gyrocopter. Yes, Gyrocopter will take it, and Queen of Pain's going to drop her TP scroll and grab Cheese, which, Cheese is great to have, but I guess she would have liked that TP scroll to get back up to top pretty quickly. Mirana's going to jump in and start call the creeps and just take out a lot of them. She's going to do a lot of damage to that and get herself some gold. She does have a completed Manta style, which is going to help more kitties and more strength and agility and just all-around stats coming out from that Manta style, so really good pick for her. Gyro's going to be taking these Ancients. They're not stacked, but they're just still going to give him a nice chunk of gold. Silencer going to be grabbing up a Bounty Rune. It'll help him out a little bit. This guy is just really, really poor. Looks like he's trying to go Force Staff, as he does have that Ring of Regen and Staff of Wizardry. But, man, at 46 minutes in the game, if you're sitting on pretty much nothing but Brown Boots, a Mech, and a Force Staff, you've just had a rough time. He does have a good amount of kill participation on his team, as he has 2, 9, and 4, but those 9 deaths have been pretty bad in terms of feeding the Dire team the experience they desperately need to keep ahead. Speaking of keeping ahead, it's now almost 20,000 gold lead, or 20,000 experience lead, excuse me, in favor of the Dire team, so I'm not going to say it's a one game yet, but I just don't see how the Radiant can pull off a really clean team fight and just put out enough damage that it's going to take to get all of the key Dire heroes down. Because they have the combinations they need, the Global Silence, the Ravage, the Black Hole, the Adaptive Strike from the Morphling, but do they have the damage to finish off these somewhat tanky heroes? Speaking of tanky heroes, Pudge is going to be invised up and go bottom. Is he going to be trying to initiate on the Enigma? Enigma does have Black Hole if he has enough time to cast it, but that Ags from the Pudge is going to do a lot of damage. Black Hole coming out. Pudge is so tanky though. Silencer coming in to do as much damage as he can as Moonlight Shadow popped from the Marana, Force Staff down to the river. Really well played by Pudge. That Force Staff definitely saved him there, as there were a lot of Radiant heroes that wanted him dead. And yeah, he's gonna get out just fine. He needs to go back to base to get his HP pool up, but I mean, I don't think he was in any real danger of getting picked off in that fight. I think he had a good couple of seconds before the damage would have come out to take him down. Dire are going to be pushing in as a trio to take down the Radiant Tier 2 top tower. Are they going to try to push high ground here? I think they're in a pretty good position. Little do they know, but Ember Spirit's way up in this top lane. There's really only the Tidehunter that's nearby and close enough to stop them. Gyrocopter does not have an Ag, so no global ulti for him, but Homing Missile's just going to keep the Tide back a little bit. So they are going to back off from the high ground at this current moment, but that doesn't mean they're not in a position to reinitiate once they get, their next set of items or the next couple of levels. Queen of Pain picking up a Hex, which is what that Ultimate Orb was for, rather than a Scotty, which is such a smart pick up from her, as they are able to just completely eliminate any one of the heroes that's being a big problem to them, whether it's the Enigma that they're worried about, the Black Hole, or the Morphling that's putting out a lot of damage. They're just able to completely take him out of the fight, especially with that Yule Scepter, if they're able to double cast that. Just a long time where a hero isn't able to do any damage or cast any spells. Enigma now does have an Aghanim Scepter. I'm not quite sure how long he's had that, but that's going to make his Black Hole a little bit nastier. Midnight Pulse also being added to that, so it's going to do a little bit more tick damage. And it looks like the Dire team are kind of clumping up around this area. Pudge is going to bottle himself up and then take this Illusion Rune for himself. Looks like Pudge can start thinking about his next big item. He does have completed Boots of Travels. He's had this for a long time. He doesn't need almost 500 gold for buyback though, so he might be wanting to save for that. Witch Doctor with a gem pickup, really interesting, and I think that's a really smart pickup as they are able to scout out. There's been so many ganks, or I wouldn't say ganks, just like roams from invisible heroes, either with invis runes or stuff like that. So it looks like Ember Spirit's going to be TPing top, trying to do as much damage to the top lane as he can. And yes, Witch Doctor will be picking up the gem for the courier, going to help him out a lot in dewarding. Little do they know, the Radiant really hasn't been warding that much, but I mean, it's still a nice pickup in case they were worried about being scouted out by the Radiant. I'm not quite sure why Witch Doctor was placing down that sentry. It might just be nice to have, but he does have the gem on himself, so True Vision is not really a huge problem there. Ember Spirit is going to be putting a little bit onto this Pudge illusion, but maybe figuring out it's just an illusion from the way it ticks by the creeps. Bounty Rune is going to go to the Marana, and she's going to take it up, just pick up a nice little treat for herself, and she's able to refresh her bottle charges. Up top, Gyrocopter's being pinged out by the Enigma. I'm not sure if he thinks about going in on that or what. There is a Black Hole up for the Enigma, but I don't think that'd be a smart play, as Gyrocopter can call down pretty easily. And it looks like Gyrocopter's going to join the couple of Dire heroes. By couple, I mean all of the Dire heroes at the bottom tower. Smoke up on 3. Queen of Pain and Pudge missed the party, but it looks like they are going to scout out an invisible Morphling. So gem coming out for the Witch Doctor, but not quite close enough to get anything out of it at this point. Another arrow from the Marana is not quite on the mark. Queen of Pain does have her ult ready whenever she needs it. She will be silenced up very soon. Curse coming out onto her. Global call down by the Gyrocopter coming out. BKB from Pudge and the Gyrocopter. Black Hole coming out, trapping both the Gyrocopter and the Pudge. And it looks like Scream coming out for the Queen of Pain will pay off, as she will pick up the Spirit of Whitney Houston. Morphling coming in is ready to shotgun whenever she feels like. Homing Missile coming out onto the Morphling, and Marana's able to do a lot of damage, but that Strength Morph is just a lot coming out. Pudge is Moonlight Shadowed, is going to be taking a lot of damage from Midnight Pulse, Force Staffing himself out of that, Moonlight Shadowing himself into invisibility to run away. And the Sleight of Fist will be slightly off the mark. Witch Doctor healing himself up for all he can, is going to Kasky up the Ember Spirit. Really great arrow and really great hook. Really great teamwork from the Dire team as they're able to get that Witch Doctor out of there safely. Dos Lagos will pick up the Marana on the back of that fight, but I think that's definitely worth it to trade towards the end of that fight, trading a Marana for everyone else getting out safely. I think it was really important that the Witch Doctor got out safely, able to not lose that gold that he's worked so hard for. Gyrocopter going down was a big thing, but he got his ult off exactly where he needed to get it off. And I think, yeah, he died, but at least he died after casting the spells he needed to cast. Pudge is back to full health with a Heart of Tarask. That guy's sitting at over 5.1k health, which is just a lot, especially with, 235 strength. You don't want to fight against that guy. You don't want to right-click that guy. He's just not going to feel it. Enigma's going to be taking these trees down, trying to see if the camps are up, but they are not quite. Tidehunter does pick up a refresher for himself, and it was used in that last fight. I'm sorry I didn't catch that one, but, I mean, the Ravage was good, and it did fight off the Dire Heroes, but the fight still took place on their high ground, and gosh, I just don't know how much better of a defense they could have had, and they didn't even end up killing off all of the Dire Heroes. So the Radiant, they put out everything they could. They got that Ravage into the Black Hole combo that I was talking about that they needed, but they didn't get everyone picked off, and I think that was the big fight that they needed to turn it, and it didn't really turn it. It just kind of fended off the Dire. Roche is going to be up in a couple of minutes now. A pretty long respawn timer coming up, so probably about 2 or 3 minutes. I am not the best at reading the Roche timer, but it looks like it's going to be a medium respawn time. If Gyro's going to check it now, it will not quite be up. Queen of Pain going to be rotating into the bottom, just clean up these Radiant creeps that are pushing up, and that'll be some nice farm for her. She's going to ult him down. She does have Aghanim, so her ult's only on a 40-second cooldown, which is nice and easy for her. Enigma going to be smoked up, grabbing that haste rune and an invisibility rune. So this guy is invisible and speedy. You don't want to be in his path right now. And is Pudge going to get caught out? Even if he does, I don't think it's a smart pickoff for Enigma to try to initiate on. Even with a black hole in 3 seconds, I still don't think they can have the follow-up for that. No other Radiant heroes are near him. I mean, if Pudge has game sense, he should just get back. And it looks like he will. He's going to be going back to his safer lane. Morphling Replicate is going to be doing a lot of damage. Sorry, not Replicate, Manta, I believe. Yes, Manta is up on the Morphling. And making a replicate of this Ember Spirit, who now does have a Monkey King bar, which is going to help out a lot with his right click. I was giving him a little bit of crap earlier that he picked up boots first, but it looks like it's paying off, as he's going to be TPing in and just really clearing out this lane with the Enigma. A lot of damage coming out from him right now, as he is hitting for like 300 something to pop. He's going to try to be ulted by the Pudge, but he will just zip way back to base. Those boots being really helpful for drop a Remnant, TP somewhere, and get back within the time that the Remnant's still up, and you're all the way across the map and back with no hassle. Queen of Pain does pick herself up another ultimate orb, so that might be the Scotty that I mentioned earlier. It's definitely a good pickup for her. It would help her right-click a lot and add just a little something to the team aura. Mirana only having 7 charges left on that Diffusal Blade, but the one she used on Silencer paid off really, really well, so she's definitely saving them for the moments when it counts. Gyrocopter with a Satanic now, so it's going to be tough to bring that guy down, especially with his BKB up. You can't magic damage him, and anything you do to him is going to be sucked right back up into his health bar. So definitely a really smart play, making him as immortal as he can be without the Aegis in his inventory. Speaking of Aegis, Roshan is back up right now, so that could be something the Dire team are looking to rotate in on. There is no Radiant Vision of the pit. It is pinged out by the Witch Doctor, who's going to go check it out. She's saying, the Roshan is back up, everyone come in, and we can play. He's going to grab himself a bounty rune just to get himself a little bit richer. In his inventory is pretty much only Aghanim's Mana Boots and the Gem of True Sight, and I don't know if the gem is for Witch Doctor to hold. He seems like he's one of the ones that might get picked off early in the fight, and you don't want to lose that gem, especially when you have a Moonlight Shadow to come in and retreat you. I mean, if you lose that, you're just in a really bad position to get out of that fight alive. And it looks like they are pretty much just leaving it to the Gyrocopter to handle solo. Radiant seem a bit oblivious as they're going to try to push down mid, maybe catching a little hint of curiosity as they are not going to see any of the Dire heroes for a while. Manta up from the Morphling, just popping out some more Morphlings, maybe scouting out the pit with these, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. Are they going to be able to finish out the Roche quickly enough? And it looks like Dire's going to leave for now, maybe trying to bait out the pit a little bit? Yes, and it looks like they are going to scout out that the Roche is about 2/3 health, so Dire have recently been there, but they don't know where they are now. Moonlight Shadow coming out. Are the Dire going to try to initiate on this? I think that'd be a really smart fight to take, as all the ultimates that need to be up are up. Arrow coming out from Mirana is off the mark, but I believe we'll give vision of that Enigma in just a little bit. Queen of Pain going to be hitting up that Tidehunter pretty hard with her new sheep stick and is going to be showing it off. Is she going to ult? She's going to take a Ravage to the face and end up getting sleight of fisted by the Ember Spirit and eventually brought down by the Morphling. Really great black hole coming out for the Enigma. Is going to catch out Ioku, but it looks like a call down from the Gyrocopter and a BKB is enough to get down is enough to get down the sorry, no one goes down from that. I miscalled that fight. What a chaotic fight, my goodness. Witch Doctor will end up going down to the Ember Spirit. Pudge does end up getting a kill on the back lines of that fight, and it looks like Allison Brie will get out just barely alive. Did have to use those Guardian Greaves there to keep him alive, and Gyrocopter's doing what he can to get Quantum Necrosis down. It looks like he will. Morphling casting that Ethereal Blade at the very last second, but not quite enough to stop the Gyrocopter from attacking. Sleight of Fist coming out onto the Ember Spirit, but Pudge is going to ult, and with that Aghanim's ult, it's going to do a lot of damage. So Ember Spirit does end up going down. So yeah, the Witch Doctor and the Queen of Pain are down, which were a lot of the big team fighters for the Dire team, but they left alive some of the Dire heroes that can do a lot of damage to towers. Ember Spirit's going to buy back, and hopefully the threat of the Sleight of Fist is going to keep back the Dire heroes from pushing, and it looks like that's going to be the case as Pudge is going to TP to the mid lane, and Mirana and Gyrocopter are just going to retreat through the jungle. Are they going to go try and redo this Roche? Looks like Gyro's a little bit hesitant, but I don't know if that's the best fight, as Morphling knows right where they could be. Does have a Manta up if she needs to use illusions to check, and I think it's smart that they're running Morphling coming up. Shotgun combo is up, and it looks like that's what's going to happen as an Adaptive Strike going on to Ioku, but the Ethereal Blade will not be on the mark. Mirana is going to be clearing out these Morphling Manta illusions. Call down from Gyro, just doing a little bit of zoning work, not getting a whole lot of damage out onto the Morphling as she's able to bottle up any little bit of health they had. Mirana does now pick up a Desolator for herself, which is going to be really, really great, and trades the gem back to the Witch Doctor to hold. But I think that Desolator is going to be really helpful in getting down the armor, especially of the Ember Spirit, who only has 9 armor, as well as the Tidehunter with 10 armor. But I think that just that armor aura is going to be really helpful. Pudge is going to be hooking in this Tidehunter, who wants nothing to do with that. Is going to be a little bit distracted by the Courier Rot doing as much damage as it can, but it looks like Pudge is not doing quite enough damage to get down the Tidehunter on the scale that he needs to before the Ember Spirit rotates in for revenge, and it looks like Enigma, Allison Brie, is coming up alone near this Pudge and decides better of it as she has no more reinforcement. Pudge is a little bit frustrated that he keeps getting tracked down in these fights. And it looks like Gyrocopter's once again at Ancients with his friend Witch Doctor. Are they going to try to rotate in for the Roche here? It's been up for a good while, and there's been a couple attempts out, but nothing really cohesive, nothing the whole team's been in on, and the whole team's been able to bring down. Looks like the Radiant are kind of scattered out in a line, Morphling being able to take these camps and get the farm they need. That's definitely going to be a Scotty for the Morphling with both the Orb of Venom and the Ultimate Orb. Morphing Agility, just to keep herself nice and high. And yeah, I mean, it looks like another Daedalus might be coming out for the Ember Spirit, which will help him with his crits a lot. And that's going to make him absolutely detrimental to some of the squishier Dire heroes like the Witch Doctor, and honestly at this point even the Queen of Pain is a little bit squishy. She does still have her Hex, which I've seen come in useful in a couple of the fights, but it needs to be that really big point of initiation. Queen of Pain is going to be walking under Radiant Vision, as they do have this camp warded up, or this area warded up, excuse me. She's going to be trying to take the Roche as quickly as she can, but that might be a big mistake, as 5 smoked up Radiant heroes are going to be walking to the pit, and they're going to be very aggressive. They do have the full double Ravage and Black Hole combo coming up. Witch Doctor's immediately picked off. Gem of True Sight sitting on the ground, no one really noticing that. Ravage coming out, number 1. Are they going to have Ravage number 2? Looks like they won't even need it at this point. There we go, Ravage number 2 coming out. We'll pick off the Gyrocopter on the back end of that fight, and it looks like Morphling's able to pick off the Queen of Pain right at the initiation. Sleight of Fist coming out to do some damage to the Pudge, but Pudge will walk away just fine. Queen of Pain buys back, but is there much she can do at this point? It looks like a free Roche should be going to the Radiant team if they're able to bring it down quick enough. Hook coming out from the Pudge, really, really great. Will bring down the Tidehunter. Really, really well played. Arrow coming out, stuns up Quantum Necrosis. Ult from the Queen of Pain is not enough to stop the Roche attempt. And it looks like Pudge is coming in, trying to do what damage he can. Interesting to note, there's a circlet on the floor. Pudge taking a lot of damage, and it looks like he will end up going down to the Quantum Necrosis. Coming back is the Ember Spirit, who did end up grabbing the Aegis from that fight, and Quantum Necrosis morphing strength as fast as he can. And Gyrocopter picks himself up a double kill by ending the Ember Spirit's streak. And Queen of Pain, still alive in this fight, just barely uses her Yules to keep that Morphling out, and she is still barely alive with just a couple points of health. Is the Morphling going to be able to pick off the Gyrocopter? It looks like that will be the case. But the Queen of Pain does end up living, and Gyrocopter, his Satanic, is keeping himself up. I am more than shocked that both the Queen of Pain and the Gyrocopter live, are able to pick off the Morphling, who has morphing strength as hard as she could. That one ult from the Queen of Pain, able to just completely finish off the Morphling. What a game so far. Everyone in the alt chat seems to agree that this has just been so back and forth. In terms of XP, it's still in the Dire's favor by about 20,000, which is a sizable lead. 63 minutes in the game. I think both teams are just really confused about what the outcome could be, because it really could be anything at this point. I can see the game going on for another 20-30 minutes with it turning back a couple more times. Gem of True Sight is dropped. Silencer pinging that out. Looks like it will be in base whenever they need it, and I think that'd be a smart pickup to carry around with them, as Moonlight Shadow has been detrimental in the past. In terms of gold advantage, it is about, again, 20,000 advantage. So Dire do still have a strong advantage in the fight, but Radiant are by no means out of this. Queen of Pain is going to be rotating in towards mid. Silencer is going to be cursing up this Gyrocopter along with his illusions, but he will get down a mid tower without any trouble, and it looks like he will bring his friends. So this could be it for the Radiant. They are going to lose their first lane of Rax for the game, and are they going to be rotating bottom to try to get a little bit greedy and take another lane? Looks like that's the plan for Gyrocopter. He will bring in Queen of Pain to do the same. They do have a Ravage. They have a Ravage, not a double Ravage just yet. 30 more seconds for that. But I think a Ravage could be really useful and might be one of the only things that are able to stop the Radiant team, or sorry, the Dire team from pushing all the way in. Call down coming down is going to zone out both the Silencer and Allison Brie, and is going to hook in the Tidehunter. Mirana doing as much damage as he can. Black Hole only catching out Ioku, but it looks like they will live as Allison Brie's Black Hole gets cancelled. Mirana's going to end up dying on the side. But, I mean, that's the only death so far. It looks like there are two buybacks on the part of the Silencer and the Enigma. And another Ravage coming out for the Tidehunter. He is going to be trying to get the Queen of Pain, and Queen of Pain will end up going down to the Ember Spirit Sleight of Fist. Mirana is going to be jumping further in to the Radiant territory, just trying to escape. Her Moonlight Shadow's up, but someone has the gem on this team. It looks like Enigma will pop dust, and she is going to try to run away as best as she can. That is one fast cat lady. Is she going to get away from this alive? Ioku is going to live. On the back lines, that Pudge is killed off by the Ember Spirit, but I think they don't lose everyone, and Mirana's in a good place to defend, especially against creeps if she needs to. Really, really crazy crit on the Sleight of Fist from the Ember Spirit. Ioku is at like 20 health from that. She's pinging for dear life, and Dos Lagos is able to pick up an ultra kill. Ember Spirit is able to pick up the slack that his team gave him in that fight. I mean, the Black Hole was good, but it does get cancelled halfway through. And, I mean, he's still able to pick off the heroes, so he's doing a lot of damage right now. He's doing basically rapier level damage. He does have 2 crits, and that's going to hurt a lot, especially when that Sleight of Fist came out in the Mirana. You saw, like, at least 2/3 of her health was taken down. Tidehunter picking up Octarine Core, which is another questionable pickup, in my opinion. Looks like Pudge is going to be hooking in Dos Lagos. Is that going to be the end of his streak? And it looks like it will. Gem of True Sight's coming out for him. And it looks like Pudge is going to be trying to get this Enigma. Force-taps himself down just a little bit too low. Enigma's booking it for his life. Is going to be blinking out. And it looks like the Radiant team are in a place to surround this. Ember Spirit has bought back, and his boots have traveled in, so he's back on the Dire high ground. Are they going to be able to get this lane of Rax? I don't know. I mean, only Pudge is the sole survivor, but he's not going to get anything on that hook. He does hook a Morphling replicate, but Morphling's going to say, no, you can't have that. And it looks like a lane of barracks are going to be able to go in for the Radiant team. So this has been such a back and forth game. In terms of XP, it's only about 10,000. So, I mean, Radiant team have definitely proven that they're not going to give up this fight easily. They're going to try to turn this back in their favor. Witch Doctor is going to be going down very, very low. Does have his heal on. Takes a shotgun to the face. He looks like he will be able to get out right now on the back of that, but he might pop from that Silencer, who's going to be taking a lot of damage under TP. Will end up getting himself home. Gyrocopter will pick off Allison Brie on the Enigma on the back lines of that fight. and Morphling going to have his TP cancelled and will end up going down to the Pudge. So another flesh heap for Pudge, sitting at 29, which is, man, that's a lot. He does have a completed Octarine core, so his magic damage is going to heal him now. So that's definitely something. Mirana is going to push with the Gyrocopter and the Pudge. It looks like they might be pushing to end at this point in the game. They could just easily pick off this lane of exposed racks. There's some scribbles coming out on the part of the Morphling as, I mean, they're ready to end. This game must be so frustrating for both sides as they feel like that each side has the advantage. They're just never able to fully capitalize on it. Witch Doctor's left to clean up the pieces, and we'll be doing a pretty good job of that. Still no big items for this guy. He has like 30-minute items in a 70-minute game. I feel bad for him, but he's been playing so cleanly. He's been buying the wards his team needs. He's always had a TP. He's always been doing what he needs to do, so really well played by that Witch Doctor, even though, I mean, his score and his items may not exactly reflect that. Another lane of racks going over to the Dire team. That might be just a little bit too much for the Radiant to contest with. Ember Spirit's dead for 44 seconds with no buyback. I mean, Pudge does get a hit on the creep, but not much. Tidehunter with a double Ravage is going to be doing all he can do. Spirit of Whitney Houston casting a Global Silence, but I mean, there's nothing else. The Radiant are trying their best, and the Dire are just too tanky at this point. Ioku is the only one showing a little bit of damage, but it looks like Red Cloud is going to be able to pick off the Tidehunter on the back of this. Double Ravage being used, but it's still not enough. I think this is it on the side of the Radiant, as the Spirit of Whitney Houston is going to get diffuseled up and hit by the Gyrocopter so hard that he will return to the grave. GG is being called by Ioku, which I think is accurate. What a well-fought and well-turned game. Pudge might end up going down at the very end of this fight as Morphling does finish up their Scotty, and will take him down. Are they going to be able to clean up here as the Ancient just going to sit at half health? And it looks like they might not have quite enough energy to finish this. Ioku is scattered out by the dust, her Moonlight Shadow not quite doing what it needs to. She does Manta away, but is caught by a black hole, which may be a bit excessive? Yeah, ... coming out in the odd chat from Ioku, which that's reasonable. But you know what? It got the kill. It got what they needed. So, I mean, Enigma did what they had to. Looks like Queen of Pain's going to be scouting out the Roche, which is still going to have 4 or 5 minutes to go, so not anything they can grab soon. And it looks like Ember Spirit's inventory, being all red and orange, is going to be focusing a lot on that strength aspect. He's going to have a good balance of attributes, but he's going to hit so hard. I don't know what his next item is. He does have over 1,100 gold surplus of his buyback, so he's able to start picking up another big item if he wants, and to 6-slot himself. I think that'd be a really smart play. This game has been absolutely back and forth, as it now is the Radiant team they're looking to push onto the Dire's high ground. Although, I mean, I don't know if they can finish this off with an Ancient that's just so exposed. Looks like the Mega creeps on the Dire side are going to be pushing down these Radiant creeps really, really soon, so they've got to send someone back. Looks like Silencer might be in charge of keeping the creeps back from the Ancient. He might need a little help with that, though, because that guy doesn't hit for a whole lot. He actually has no attack damage modifiers on right now. Queen of Pain is doing what they can to stop the push. She does have ult in 22 seconds, so it's not up right now, but it will be soon. Ember Spirit does buy out a Desolator, so he no longer has buyback, only about 177 gold. It looks like the Ancient's going to be taking some hits right now from the Siege creeps. Got to get those Siege creeps off. I doubt they'll be able to finish it off anytime soon. The Radiant team do bring down the lane of middle racks. Are they going to be able to try to end here? It looks like Morphling's Morphing Strength is going to be taking a homing missile to the face. First Ravage coming out, second Ravage coming out. Gyrocopter's getting very, very low. Mirana's getting very, very low too. It looks like Pudge is going to pop BKB. Will end up finishing off the Enigma, and is going to be full health and able to rot down everyone as best as they can. Ancient will end up going down 2 creeps at the end, but very well played by the Radiant, keeping themselves in the game longer than they thought they would be able to. I think the problem with the Radiant team was that they were so teamfight oriented, but really didn't start getting clean teamfights off until the 30-minute mark, and if they'd had that really clean start, this game would have been no problem for them. But overall, well played by everyone involved. I don't think I saw a single really questionable play out there, and I think that was one of the most entertaining Dota games I've seen, with the ending being so unpredictable at an 80-minute game, it could go either way the whole game through. So thank you so much, Ioku, for submitting this to me. I really enjoyed casting it. And if you enjoyed what you heard, I am always available for hire on dotacasters.com. Just look up Android. So thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate the business. Bye!